I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for being here tonight. So the Los Angeles Film School has joined forces with Jen De Leon to bring this exclusive panel for all of you guys. With that being said, I want to introduce Jen De Leon.
I hate doing intros. I feel so awkward. I'm like, hey everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hi.
On the Today Show.
This is
Good
Jen.
morning, America.
Do people fuck up your name?
They do. What did you think my name was originally when you
thought
first
it
said?
was De Leon.
De Leon.
Yeah, De Leon. No, I mean, I know now.
Now
We're
you know.
homies. This is
De
my homie. It's
Leon.
all good.
What's going on, y'all? This is Posty. Shout out to Jen De Leon. You already know it's super lit. Turn up. Got him. Did I say it right? De Leon. Put a little spice on it. What's going on, guys? This is Post Malone. Shout out to Jen De Leon. You already De Leon. Fuck.
Hey guys, it's Jen De Leon with HotNewHipHop.com, and today I'm taking you guys behind the scenes at the BET Awards. Hey guys, this is Jen De Leon with Complex.
Coming up on Nellyville.
Hi.
How you doing?
Jen. Nice to meet you.
Tab.
Hi,
Shad,
nice
how
to
you
meet
doing?
you.
Sitting right next to me is Common. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. How you doing,
I'm
Jen?
doing good. Thank you for asking.
What about you, baby? How you doing?
What's up?
What's your name?
I've never been interviewed before. This is so
This ain't an
different.
interview. This a date.
Where are you putting the trampoline inside this house? Because I heard you had a trampoline growing up as a kid indoors, and I've
Yeah,
never
I
heard
did.
something like that.
Yeah, I
Was
did.
that-
Where did you hear that at?
I used to.
Are you the Fed?
Trying to be so detailed.
I'm a very detailed person, and they want.
You
I
wanna
know the fans want to know.
See, that's why your boyfriend don't trust you. I'll play.
My favorite line was when you said Kevin Hart is a chromosome away from being a midget. I'm 4'11 and a half. Did I make the cut?
I ain't trying to diss no midget, no short people.
It's the craziest thing that's ever happened from a fan.
Probably somebody who's like literally trying to get an autograph like after I left out of the bathroom. And I was like, bro, I just took a shit, man. You don't want to shake my hand. He was like, no, I'll shake your hand. It's cool.
I'm talking to a girl. She asked me what I'm doing. I said I'm reading a book. She hit me with, oh, I'm surprised. I'm doing like, what the fuck? What you surprised?
That's what she said.
Yeah, I'm a scholar.
Each person needs their own level of knowledge to get anywhere in life, whether it's music or working at a McDonald's. You have to have some type of knowledge.
Don't substitute your time spent with them with an iPod or an iPad. You know what I'm saying? Don't let them grow up sucked into this technology.
You'll never know unless you try. That's success within itself.
Been able to run across you many times. You're gonna be like a hell of a news anchor one day.
No, I'm in my own talk show, and you're going to be my first guest. That's what we negotiated last time.
Woman late night talk.
That's what I said, and you're going to be the first guest.
I will. I got you.
And if you're not, I'm going to call
I
you
got
as.
your back. Who got your back? I got your back.
I feel like no one can see me. It's like super dark. I'm just waiting for light. We good? Or should I just? Okay. Hi guys. Thank you so much for coming. I mean, this is my first event with the LA Film School, and honestly, I was so paranoid that I asked to move into an actual classroom with desks because I didn't think anyone was going to show up. So thank you for coming. I have so many special guests for you guys, and the goal for this is to really inspire you to go after your dreams and the people who want to be in the music industry. These are people who have been in the industry 10 plus years. They know all the secrets, so I'm going to pry it out of them. So you guys have the secrets to the industry. So I'm excited to bring up the panelists. First one, he's the Director of Content and Strategic Marketing, Justin Hunt. This is a long walk. Next one is Tu Clark. He's the SVP of Def Jam Recordings. Okay. Then the president of Taylor Gang, Will Zombik. And then the CEO of Dash Radio, co-founder Everything, DJ Ski. introduce Carmen. I'm waiting for. Oh, okay. So before we get started with the panel, I have to put someone on the spot. I know they're all looking like, what the hell are you talking about? So someone has a birthday here. It's actually Tu's birthday.
What?
So
okay.
Yes.
So this is what I want to make sure we do. I don't want to make sure we in class, guys. I want to make sure there's some energy here. I want to make sure you guys are ready for us, man. So if that's the case, can y'all make some noise for me, man? Can I get some energy, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Jen, go ahead. I just make sure they're ready. I just make sure they're ready, man.
They're ready. Thank you. So I was going through Instagram and I saw it was his birthday and I felt like such an asshole because I'm like, he's speaking on my panel when he can be drinking or doing whatever to celebrate. So I brought something for two. So I brought you a cake.
Cake?
And so I'm going to have
I did
everybody
drink, though.
sing happy birthday. Yes, I forgot. So I think I can't light candles because of permits, and I didn't want to get shut down. So we're going to pretend the candles are lit. So
Cool.
if everyone can just help me sing happy birthday to him so it
Oh,
can make it a
guys,
special
come on,
day.
guys. Come on, guys.
1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Ow! Let's play ball. Let's play ball. Yeah. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that.
To clarify, we had this debate backstage. I was like, hey, do you pronounce your name Tu or Tuo because you respond to both? And I see the struggle that everyone had when we said happy birthday. So it's either one. He'll respond.
Yeah, it's 2-0.
And we'll be good.
Everybody said 2-0. It's 2-0 for the night. 2-0 for the night. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that.
No problem. Okay, so I'm excited to start. So this panel is going to be broken down into two things. First part is personal and business. So you guys don't have to answer every single question, but if you have something, go ahead. So first one, how did you get started in the music industry?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start since I'm at the beginning of the panel here. I was inspired by a rapper named Lupe Fiasco. So I used to work in an investment bank, and Lupe's Food and Liquor came out. All his mixtapes were crazy. He had all these. He would say the dopest stuff, man. He would say lines like, "You could be as hard as sign language with no fingers." You know what I mean? Like just really inspiring stuff. So I would email my friends every day at work, and I called it Lupe Fiasco's Daily Quotable. So I would share dope lyrics with my friends at work. And I had one friend. She was like, yo, you should start a blog. And I was like, blogs are played out. This is 2006. I didn't know what I was talking about. And so she actually took my emails, put them in a blog, and was like, look, now everyone can see them, everyone can save them. And I just fell in love with the act and art of sharing my thoughts on music and culture. And I quit my job at the bank just to pursue my passion of writing about rap. And that's how I got started.
Real quick, so I was inspired by The Basement. I used to do medical records at like Advocate Healthcare, and they wouldn't let me get my damn vacation time. And I said, man, the hell with this. I can't do this. So my mother, she was in the computer technology field. She used to bring home computers at the end of every year when they get in new computers. Gave me a computer. I put Cool Edit Pro on a good computer. Started doing like some editing and stuff like that. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna make a studio and I'm gonna call it The Closet. Pause. So I did that, and guys from around the hood would come in. I was like, yo, I'm damn near making as much as I'm making going to work every day. This is it. I'm out. So that's what I did. I started recording cats, burning the CDs, giving them their CDs, you know what I'm saying? Even though the music was horrible, but that was my hustle. And that's how I started.
For me, I was inspired by music in second grade. A good friend of mine played the Bone Thugs and Harmony cassette tape, and he played the song Crossroads, and I was like, I got to figure out music because this is so cool. These guys are from Cleveland making songs and making money. And I joined a band in high school, learned about management and being in a rock band, and from there carried it over to my best friend.
Wiz.
Not bad.
Just wanted to clarify.
Not bad. For me, I kind of grew up around music. My mom was in a touring band, and she was on the radio before that. My grandmother did radio. My father was like an incredible, and still is an incredible piano player. And I remember one day, I always like loved mixing music and turning it around. I remember I got a CD changer once, if any of you know what that is now. But I would like literally like sequence songs, and this is before like you could look up things on YouTube and do things. So then one day I was like, I really wanted to get into DJing. It clicked with me, and I stole one of my dad's like record players. I won't even say turntables. I bought a turntable from Best Buy for like $50, which broke that same night because it was like belt drive and it wasn't meant for scratching on. And I took like a regular Mackie mixer that my dad had and just started. It wasn't like a crossfader mixer. It was like a real like Mackie mixer, like probably what's mixing our audio somewhere in here. And from that, like I got my first record. I think the first record I got was a limited. They had the record store I went into had a pressing of Still DRE. It was like a green vinyl. For that single, and I got that and just was like, oh, this is it. This is what DJing's like, and I just knew from that moment on that that's what I was gonna do. I didn't know how it would turn out, and just worked my way up. Started doing mixtapes, ended up on radio, ended up out here in LA. But just as soon as I found that passion, I knew it was my calling in my life, and I really didn't have any doubts at that time. I knew that music was and DJing was gonna be my profession.
So I think one thing I get a lot from people, whether it's to be an artist or build their own brand, is they get discouraged because they think they have to be born into it or have a family member that did it. So Justin, I know you mentioned banking, and then you mentioned like the hospital. So can you tell people like what were your actual first jobs? Like mine was Dairy Queen. I was getting paid $6.50 an hour. It was Dairy Queen, and now I'm here in front of this class. So what was like an odd job or a regular job you had so people aren't discouraged?
I used to sell Cutco kitchen knives, and so it was like it's really like a pyramid scheme kind of thing. But you had to, these are like the most expensive knives on the planet. They stay sharp forever, and I love them. They dope. But I had to run around all summer, and
still selling them.
Still, you know what I'm saying? They still work. Look, multi-purpose. But I had to pimp these knives to like, stay-at-home moms and stuff all summer. And I went in super, super enthusiastic in the beginning, and I made like $1,500 the first month. And then I was like, man, I'm selling knives, man. I don't really want to spend my time like this. And so the next month I quit and I started working at Foot Locker.
Pretty similar story, man. I did the pyramid scheme too. It was with Sears Windows in a company called Joe Juice. I never forget it, man. So my friend ended up buying him a car, and that's all I wanted to do. I said, I just need a car, man. That's it. I just need a car. Get the money to get a car. So he was like, yo, man, I got this car, and I got a check. My check was for $1,500, $2,000. I was like, wow. So I went there, and the company was called Joe Juice, man, and they was selling juice, and it was the most corniest shit ever. Because he went there, he was like, all right, guys, you got to get out here. You got to go door to door, and you got to sell some juice. Joe Juice, Joe Juice, Joe Juice. And I was like, yo, man, I'm not with any of this shit. So I left the same day, and I said, it's not for me, and I went and worked at a grocery store, Jewel Osco.
I worked at a pizza shop for 6 years, and it was horrible. And
What's your favorite pizza?
Banana, pepper, and chicken.
That's really
banana.
weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Banana pepper.
Anyway.
It's not banana.
It's a banana.
Yeah. But yeah, it was horrible. Worst job ever.
That's great. Two things. First up, anybody can do it. It doesn't matter where you're from. As you see, nobody out here was born into that. There's definitely people in the industry that have an advantage if you're born into a family, if you're in LA, if you're in New York, if you're within one of those systems. But everybody up here is a testament that we didn't come from that and we still made it happen. And it's amazing, too, especially when you're from smaller towns and places. Like you guys, everybody in here is already a little ahead because you're in LA, a place where you can really go out and make stuff happen. For us growing up in like the Midwest, I grew up in Minneapolis, like kids don't know about the music industry. I could never, make the career that I've done here in LA by doing what I did there. But if I can make it as a kid from Minnesota, there's no reason, and I'm not the smartest, not the brightest, not the best musician, not the best DJ in the world, not the best entrepreneur. You guys should be able to get a lot further along. So don't let anything stop you. Of course, there is advantages, but it doesn't mean you can't get there, and everybody up here is a testament to that. For me, my first job was I was always entrepreneurial, so I never worked a real 9 to 5. In high school, and by the way, a lot of people like to brag and be like, I couldn't work a 9 to 5, I'm an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is probably the dumbest thing you can do. Like, seriously. So I was like hustling PlayStations and shoes and like waiting in line to sell them for double the money on eBay. The challenge with that, you end up actually, if you did it by like an hourly number, and even with like me DJing and working at Dash and stuff, it's like, oh, it's great. If you clocked my hourly salary for like how much I worked, I probably get paid less than minimum wage than I did then. So it's actually a very dumb job that's not cut out for everybody. So don't let that discourage you and feel like you have to be an entrepreneur and like own your own stuff, because it's not always great. But for me, it was always just like in high school, kind of hustling and finding other ways to do it. So I didn't have to do that 9 to 5 just because I was like, I want to have my own stuff and do that, and ended up working twice as hard. But that was kind of my start.
What was the hardest lesson, or one of the hardest lessons that you guys had to learn while being in this industry for over 10 years?
It's expensive to make your dreams come true. I had this, when I left the bank, I had a 5-year plan, and unfortunately I had a lot of money saved, since you make a lot of money in investment banking. And so my 5-year plan was, all right, I'm gonna write on this blog, the blog's gonna blow up, I'm gonna be 2 dope boys by myself. And it didn't work like that at all. That blog to this day has 92 likes on Facebook. Like, no one ever checked for that blog. But my writing got a lot better, and I was able to build other relationships. But I looked up 3 years into my 5-year plan, and I was running out of money. I was like, yo, what am I going to do? I can't afford to spend 100% of my time writing about rap, going to shows, hanging out in the back of open mics, covering rappers no one would ever hear about, just so I can get my reps up. And I sincerely thought about going back to the bank again. And at that moment, I almost quit. And I couldn't do it because if I went back to the bank, I wouldn't be active. I wouldn't be able to be as prolific as I was at that point. So I had to really think about what it looked like if I ran out of money and I failed. And I was like, yo, well, I guess I got to move back to South Carolina with my parents. What's that look like? Well, I know a couple of editors. I can still do interviews over the phone. I can still review albums. I know 2 of my fraternity brothers have nightclubs in South Carolina, and I know rappers now. I can book them at the shows, and then now I can interview people at the shows. Oh, okay, this could still work out, broke at my parents' house. So at that point, I was like, fine, let's ride this till the wheels fall off. 2 months later, I got offered the job as editor-in-chief of Hip Hop DX, which moved me out to LA, which is the first time I got into the industry. Had I been worried about money, this would never happen.
Dope. Jen, great question. For me, everybody got this whole mystique about meeting the right person and you get on. Well, guess what? I met the right person. I got founded by Troy Carter, which found Lady Gaga. At the cusp of him finding Lady Gaga, that's when he signed us, the only producers to sign to him. Lady Gaga was just getting started. So him and Vince Herbert was partners, and we was like, oh, shit, we on. So Lady Gaga started to blow up, and we was like, yo, I know we're going to get a placement on Lady Gaga. I know we're going to do this. I know we're going to get it cracking. Never got a placement. Never got on the album. Met her a couple of times. We thought these guys was going to take us through all the buildings and meet all these different people. Never happened. But I'm going to tell you something that did happen. Because he found us, and because, we had the mentality of we're going to teach ourselves through rain, sleet, or snow, because we're out here in LA and we got the opportunity. We took advantage of being around him, getting the connects, actually networking with people to help build our own business, you know what I'm saying, as the interns, because I'm one half of the production team called the Interns. And we actually was able to make some hits and get some Grammy, nods under our belt. So it was like we thought we was going to meet this guy, he was going to totally change our life, but he changed our life in a different way than what we thought, because we had to take the driver's seat and actually take the steering wheel and just drive ourselves.
I think for me, the hardest lesson that I've learned in the game is, that's a really good question, I gotta think. It's truly just to stay humble and stay grinding. Like, you never know who's gonna recirculate I've seen people that I thought I would never see ever again in my life in, you know, way different positions, doing different things across, you know, someone that used to do mailroom is now the head of A&R at this label. So I think one of the hardest lessons to learn is just to know to keep yourself humble, and that even if you have some success, you're still a regular person just like everyone else, and you got to treat everyone that way, and that there's no one in the world that's better than anyone else. We're all equal, and truly, like, music, it, you know, helps people's lives, but we are not curing cancer. We're not doctors, you know what I mean? So to act like that, it'll just shoot you in the foot.
That's great. I second Will. That's a great answer right there. And like, yeah, you never know who you're going to be. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, we're all, again, we all bleed the same. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We're specks of dust and a speck of dust traveling at the speck of dust. So it doesn't matter what position we get to. It isn't there. For me, the real keys that I've always focused on are hanging on my wall. I have something that says persistence, patience, and perseverance. And it's, you really have to be persistent, not annoying, persistent. And means being there, being ready, and being realistic about it, being patient, 'cause stuff takes time. It never happens fast enough, but you have to have that patience to ride through it, and then persevering through it. You know, if you got, and when somebody says no, it doesn't mean it's over and you quit. If I quit, you know, I would have never even made it out here. Like the first meeting before I moved out to LA was with Steve Rifkin, who moved me out here. I wrote him a letter on what he was doing wrong with his label, and I always tell this story. And he flew me to New York, offered me a job. What I don't get the chance to say is the first time he flew me to New York, I was in high school. I was 17 years old, so I ditched high school for a day to fly to New York to meet with him, CEO of the biggest label at the time. After they had $300 million billing quarter, like. They're crushing it, and I'm excited. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, maybe I'm going to get a job or something. And I show up to New York, and then he cancels on me. And a lot of people would have been like, damn, I'm done. I wouldn't quit. But it sucked. It wasn't fun. But I realized, like, look, he's the CEO of Loud Records and Sony Records. He's got bigger things to do. I can't quit. Like, a lot of people would have been mad and pissed at him and stuff. And I was like, oh, good. Just let me know another day, and I'll come out and make it happen. And then we ended up connecting. But if I, like, quit that one time, and that's just one very small example, I wouldn't have been here today and had that other thing. So it's just riding through all the ups and downs.
So one huge misconception that I think people have is when they move to LA or they get this opportunity, they want to be paid like their first week into the industry. So I want to set realistic expectations. How long were you working for free until you actually saw money coming into the position that you're in?
I kind of look at it based on healthcare, right? Like, it took me 4 years to get healthcare. I had a bunch of, you know, I was getting freelance checks, so I'd make, you know, $60 here, maybe, you know, $700 this month for this publication. But I didn't get healthcare until year 4. And that was big because I played basketball. And so I basically didn't play basketball for 4 years while I was trying to figure out how to write about rap, because I was scared about getting hurt because I didn't have health care. So it took me 4 years to get health care, and then I could get back to being a regular person again.
Wow. For me, it took 2 years. First 2 years in the industry definitely was dead broke. Definitely thankful by the grace of God, man. I had a manager that was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and help you guys pay your bills. The biggest thing, which was rent. That he gave us, you know, and the crazy thing about it, when we got the money, he didn't even make us give it back to him. He actually was like, okay, since you guys got that saved, you keep that. So yeah, my first 2 years, man, we was broke.
For me, it took 3 years, and I was 10 grand in the hole before I made any money. So I'll never forget that for sure. It takes time.
Yeah, for me, when I moved to LA, I was making minimum wage as an 18-year-old that had never been out here, and it took time, and I had to find other ways to, like, I was still doing my side hustles of, like, finding things to sell and just, like, different hustles. Like, I'm going to sell these shoes and flip them on eBay and connect with these people and do those things. So I always had to find other ways to do that so I could supplement my income, but I knew it was going to pay off in the end. And kind of like one thing, too, that I've learned is that as an entrepreneur, and running your own businesses, you're still kind of always deal with those same situations. Even as we go out and build companies and start businesses, I always say, like, look, the same situations exist, just the number of zeros at the end changes, right? It doesn't matter, like, if you're dealing with $5 or 5 million or 50 million. Like, you can go up and down those things depending on which level you're at and dealing with. But you're a lot of times, as your career goes on, you'll see you're kind of balancing the same exact scenarios, just in a different level. Like, for then, it was like me, every $100 mattered. Like, every $10, like, yo, I can't eat this tonight. I was living out, like, eating, ramen noodles and bean and cheese burritos from Ralph's for 99 cents. And now, like, luckily it's not there, but, like, starting up businesses is like, oh, I've got to go raise a few $1 million and do this, and you're down. And the difference is just the levels that you're playing with, but it's a lot of those same scenarios. So it's good to learn early.
I would say one thing on that is, if you are ever blessed enough to come into some money, make sure you understand how to save, pay your taxes, and
Pay
know
taxes.
that
Let's
if you
talk
get
about
$1,
Yeah.
it's not really $1.
Let's talk about that, because I think financially we could all use advice on that. So that wasn't even one of my questions, but what's one of your ways that you guys, keep track or budget your money?
I have an accountant now and stuff, but truly, my mom helps. There's no one better to trust than mom. She still goes through every one of my credit card statements. What's this? What's this? But it taught me to educate myself to be able to get through it quickly with her. And, it's read about it and educate yourself, because that's part of being a boss. And it's not all fun and games. You got to know what you're doing, or you end up messed up. And we've all seen the examples of people messed up from taxes. I don't even need to name any.
And especially in the entertainment industry, because when you work a 9 to 5 or a regular job, you get your taxes deducted, right? So end of the year, cool, maybe you get a refund. As an entertainer, end of the year, oh, wait, how much do I have to pay? I've got it wait, what is it coming up? We've got stuff, oh, it's horrible. Like, so being in this industry, that's one thing that people ignore, and you always punt it. You're like, I'll worry about it, cool. Like, oh, I got this check, don't worry, it's the end of the year. That stuff comes up, and it's really messed with people. So be smart, always know that it's there, put it aside. Even if you're going to do something, like put it in a separate account, get an accountant, and try to educate yourself as much as possible. One thing I did early on was I like knowing a little bit about a lot of things. So I'd read like Accounting for Dummies and Tax Preparation for Dummies. Not that I'm doing my own taxes, but I know when I'm talking to my accountants and lawyers, the terms that they're talking about, and I'm not just blindly handing things over, because I've done that too, where I've had top tier like business management firms that are like representing the biggest people in the world, and having a bad client rep there that didn't do your thing right has come back to haunt me. So I wanted to be in the higher pros to do my stuff now, but know enough about what's there. So educate yourself as much as possible about all those things. Even though you don't necessarily need to do it, you want to know the lingo and the language so you're not caught out there.
Diversifying was a big one for me too. There's not just taking every dollar and putting it in a savings account. Maybe, I've always played the stock market, so I always look at stocks as an option. I did cryptocurrency pretty early, just to, with money that I didn't mind losing if this whole thing flipped the wrong way. So also having your money in different buckets, I think, is a good one. The street poet Scarface taught me this on a song on The Fix. He says, if you make $12, you put 7 away, you live off of 5, and never mess with what you save.
Well, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. The tax demon came and saw me. I'm from the south side of Chicago, so I come from zero. So definitely from the hood, and I ain't never had any money. So when I got my first real check, matter of fact, shout out to my brother Big Sean, cause that ass, that bought my kids some socks. And I was just like, yo, we getting money, dog, we getting money. But we had to live off this money. So something that I learned was this. When you have to live off of money, you're not able to technically pay your taxes for real, because your business manager say, hey, check this out. You got this money. What you want to do? I'm going to let you know. You can pay some of your taxes right now, or you can pay it at the end of the year. We didn't know any better. We said at the end of the year. I want all my money right now. At the end of the year, they told us how much money we had to pay. So when you got that nice bill of saying like, all right, guys, you owe $80,000, $60,000, and you just had like $40,000 come in, and you think you're going to have a nice Christmas? No, sir. you got to pay those taxes. So Christmas is very slim. So I actually learned that, and from learning that, it was just like, yo, definitely pay your taxes quarterly. You know what I'm saying? You get independent money, you're working as an independent company, you have to pay your taxes independently. If you're able to handle it and pay it all at the end, cool, but you're taking a risk, because that's what I did. So I think the most important thing you need to do when you're making an independent dollar is definitely pay those taxes quarterly.
A few more. What's the biggest misconception about your career?
I don't know. I was actually having a shout out to Justin right there. I was talking to my brother Justin, right? He hosts a great a radio show, and he works with me on Shade 45, and we were just talking about what's happening in the media space, what's happening in journalism, what's happening in publishing. And I had this idea that, you know, you could write an article and pay a bill, or that you can host something and that was going to be enough. I think the biggest misconception is that there's stability in any of this. Nothing is stable. Everything changes so fast. And if you're not picking up new skill sets, if you're not learning new things, if you're not testing yourself and pushing yourself in places where you're uncomfortable, you're going to be the first ones that are going to get disposed. I've been spending the past year, for example, doing stuff I don't have to do. Like, I've been teaching myself Premiere Pro and just trying to edit better, just so I can see what directors see, or I can see what editors see, or I can see what different types of companies look at when they're creating awesome productions. This isn't something I ever thought came along with what it is I want to do or aspire to do. But truthfully, when I started wanting to do any of this, Spotify wasn't here. YouTube was barely around. So everything changes so fast. So getting comfortable is your death knell. I think that's the biggest misconception, that you've learned something and that's enough. Learning never stops.
Man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Y'all got to give him a hand. That's beautiful, bro. I got it, man. That's great. Damn, what can I do? I got to say that something that I learned from coming and being and building myself as an independent person, independent creator, when you come into a company, there's definitely rules. So something that I learned as being a producer, I was like, yo, man, I was wondering why this A&R saying that he can't push this record through. We think this record is hot, or we had the record and then we lost the record and we didn't get paid because there's certain rules that they have inside the system. Yeah, I don't like every rule that had, you know what I'm saying, that's inside the system. But when I came in and I learned working for a record label that they actually got guidelines that they go by, that was the misconception that I thought, just like coming from the independent mindset of just saying like, yo, man, what do you mean? You can't do this? You can't do it like that? Oh, man, you let them guys do anything with you, tell you anything. It's like a set of rules you got to go by. And when you get in and you know better, you got to fight for every fucking thing you know. It doesn't matter the caliber of the artist. I have some top tier artists. I still have to fight every time to try to get their work and their vision through, because that's all you got. That's all you got is your creativity and your vision. So if you're not able to actually feed that to the world, you're going to lose. So that's something that I learned coming inside. You got to really fight for everything you want.
I think the biggest misconception for me, and you know, is just that really what Tu said is like, everything's easy. You could do whatever you want. There's rules and guidelines for everything. There really is. And when you're hot and when it's your first time, you think like, these people are doing it all wrong. There's no rules. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And then when you like really understand what the process is to have a successful record, to have a successful rollout, you know, anything, it takes a team, and it takes navigating the team, and it's not easy, and it's not just as easy as, oh, I would have done it this way. So yeah, it takes, like you said, patience and perseverance to execute the project and follow the rules.
For me, I'd say one thing especially that I've noticed is a lot of people in this generation just think it all happens that quick and it's that easy. Like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then tomorrow that's going to happen. And funny thing is, I remember somebody hit me up like, I want to be like you one day. I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Like, yeah, you know, like I want to post stuff and, you know, like do that. And I'm like, all right, what does that mean? Like work with brands. And, you know, I'm like, well, working with brands, like, you're talking about like, yeah, like post stuff on Instagram and stuff. I'm like, well, that's like a highlight reel of like some random stuff that I do. I don't post all the bad stuff that's happening. Like, you know, that's your like playbook. But it's not that's not like a business. That's like showcasing things that I'm doing everywhere else. And, you know, so many people are just so focused on that and showing, and they want it to happen overnight, and they want to compete with that. You can never compete with them, no matter how big you are. There's always going to be somebody with more money that's stunting more than you. You can't play that game and get into it. So don't even try, and you don't need to. And, you know, so many people just want that and want it to all happen overnight, and will say they're hungry and be like, I'll do anything. I'll be in this industry. I'll do that. And I'll wash floors. And then you get them to do that for a day. And then the next day they're like, all right, cool. Where are we going? Like, let's do this. Like, no, it takes time. So really having, again, like what Will was saying, having that patience and knowing it takes a long, long time. And it's not just that easy, no matter what other people make it seem, because a lot of them, it's not always truthful.
I love all those answers. So I have a few more just left in business, and then we're going to open it to a Q&A. So what's the key to maintaining relationships in the music industry?
I'll start, like, just because I want to tell the story all day. Like, prime example is these two up front, Vito and Mo. I've known them for literally 12 years. We've been in the trenches together with Sean, hustling records and everything. We played at shows for two people, Wiz and Sean, and like I said earlier, everything comes full circle, and you never know where anyone's gonna end up. And at the end of the day, everyone, I hate saying this, but everyone shits, everyone pisses. Like, we're all the same, So you got to treat people like that and enjoy who you're working with, and make sure it's an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. I think protecting the cosign is crucial. If you do have advocates, if you do have people who believe in you and support you and speak highly of you, make sure that you live up to their word, or come through when you say you're going to come through, or show up when you say you're going to show up, or don't be flaky. A lot of flaky people around here, because people are out here vouching for you and vying for you. And so in a sense, there is a responsibility that we all have, because there are people who helped us get to where we are now, or where we want to go. So always protect the cosign.
I definitely agree with that. And make sure that you speak, man. It's like, I hate when people come in the room and they don't actually introduce themselves, or just say, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. Hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. Because the thing about that is, you never know who somebody's going to be. You never know who somebody's going to be. I never thought I'd be SVP of A&R Def Jam. Like, literally, not at all. So it's like, you never know the next person that you meet, or the person that you may be, who they're going to be later on, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road. And if they be like, oh, yeah, I remember you, boom. And if you was an asshole, your ass is grass. You know what I'm saying? If you was cool, it's just like, yeah, I remember you. Yeah, let's at least have a conversation. That conversation could lead to something else,
I mean, everybody up here's nailed it. Round of applause for them. Beyond those things, I mean, it's executing. It's doing what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to show up, if you say you're going to call somebody back, if you say you're going to, do whatever it is, you've got to follow through and do that. And if you can't, be direct. Don't hide out. Don't hide your head. Like, be like, yo, this has happened. Be honest. Be upfront. Be direct. Even if it causes pain, just don't be afraid to have those conversations. And the next thing, too, is really, a lot of understanding what networking really is. I hate when people come up to me like, hey, let's network. Like, what does that mean? Like, no, I don't have time. Like, no, let's not. Like, instead, the way I got my way in the industry, you have to be like, and you've got to realize, for people that you're trying to talk to and trying to build up with, you need to offer, instead of you looking for a handout, first thing you meet with them, well, oh, what's up, man? Oh, I got an artist. I love Wiz. He's my favorite guy. You're like, all right, cool. Instead, like, why don't you find something out about Will? Or like, for me, find something out about me. It's very easy. I like shoes. If you really want my attention, go buy me a pair of crazy shoes and come up to my office. I will let you in the door. Like, that's cheaper. Like, if you're like, I'll pay you $500 for a meeting, I won't do it. But like, find little hacks and ways to get in with people. I did that early on. And like, even when I meet with people now, I'll do my research, finding out whether it's with the brand. Oh, they went to this college. Oh, they're from Minnesota. Okay, cool. I've got the hook up there. I'm going to come in and start talking about my Minnesota sports teams and what I do with the Vikings. And that's kind of my in, and strategizing it. And the second part of that is, beyond like offering value to others instead of just asking for a handout, is really, I guess, going out there and, realizing that it doesn't need to happen today. Like, if I meet Will right now, I don't need to necessarily be like, yo, what's up? Like, let's sign a record deal. That could come 5 years from now. It could come a month from now. It could come never. But it's building this network and relationship of people for the right reasons that you can tap into, and you never. It doesn't have to be instant. It doesn't come overnight. Like, and people like doing business with people that they know. So as you build up a rapport and a relationship, and just do cool things and be there to support each other, that's why I feel one of the key reasons to my success is just from the network that I have, and being able to be open and have built it the right way.
So one thing we all need is a team. And I've seen people lose out on a lot of opportunities because of the people they have around them. So one, how big is your team and how did you pick them? And what advice do you have for those people who are looking to fill those positions right now?
You know what's funny? I got to a point when I was running Hip Hop DX. One of the reasons I left Hip Hop DX was because I actually needed new mentors. Like, I needed to learn from people that knew more than me. So I actually joined a team recently, and in a sense, I sell perspective, right? So everything I say is less valuable if I'm not learning new things. So that's one of the reasons why I did join Empire. That's why I went to Shade 45. But one thing I always look for and another thing is I'm actually building a team now, and I'm looking for interns. So I'll be posting about that this week. But one thing I always look for in team members is based on the needs that I have, right? Like, I need people who are going to be punctual, of course. I need people who are not going to have a problem speaking up, being honest about things that are cool or not cool. But I also need people that are listeners. I think the best leaders are also the best listeners. And a lot of times, the challenges I've had in any team have always come when people not wanting to hear what other people are saying. So, yeah, teams. That's what I got right now.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I always look at a team as like sports. So we say starting five. You want the best starting five or even the bench, right? So you want to make sure that everybody's able to understand each other, because when you understand each other, we're going to kind of practice. We're going to practice good. We're going to listen to each other. We're going to have the same objective to win. And when you don't have to have the same objective to win, you're going to lose. So if I'm the LeBron James, and if I feel like, well, nobody else on the team is good as me, saying the hell with you guys, guess what? That energy, that aura is going to actually transcend through my whole unit. So at the end of the day, you got to make sure that you give the same energy. Like, yo, you could go out here and put up 30 points yourself, man. Let's go, man. Let's go. Even if they came out and put up 6 points, 4 points, you like, hey, man, come on, bro. Come on, man. Get your head in the game, man. Maybe you need to study the tapes harder. Maybe you need to dig in and understand what you need to understand a little bit more. So I always look at it as a sport, because that's what it is. I'm in competition with other labels. I'm in competition with other artists. This is all a sport for me. So at the end of the day, there has to be a total understanding.
For me, just to ride off what he's saying, and I think too knows more than anyone, your teams are endless. Like, there's no defined team. Like, you got your different team for publishing, then separate than your team with your label, separate than your touring team, separate than your promo team. So everything to me is a never-ending group project with different teams, and you got to give to your team what you want out of it. If you go into a team that's super dark every day, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna blow my brains out because it's so not enjoyable. And you can't work creatively, especially being in this industry when everything's creative, if everyone's just negative, depressed, and not exciting, because you're trying to promote positivity and creativity to move forward. So it's just about treating whatever team you're in with respect, and always trying to have a positive outlook on it to keep the ball rolling.
For me at Dash, we have a team of about 40 employees, but a network of over 450 DJs and on-air hosts on 80 stations right now, and a network, I think, around 20 investors, multiple people that have helped us along the way, and advisors, and just friends and family, like Will said, that you kind of deal with every day. For the second part of the question, I try to surround myself with people that are much better and smarter and more successful than me. You really are who you hang around. Like, if you're hanging around with people that ain't doing anything, aren't doing anything positive, you're a product of your environment. And that's why it's so tough. If you look at like why people are in systems and stay in that, it's because they don't get out of that. And you have to that's the toughest thing, is making that effort to leave and to kind of take that next level up. And you also have to make like sacrifices. And even for me, like a good example is NBA All-Star Weekend this weekend. everybody's like, oh, where are you going out? Where's the parties? Like, are you going to the Jordan party? And for me, I'm like, no, I'm not going to go to that this year because like I know everybody, like that's cool and that's great, but I've been there and done that. I've got a breakfast thing the next morning. There's a tech brunch with all the NBA owners, with all these billionaires in the room. That's where I want to go to, and that's who I'm trying to surround myself with now. I've already been and experienced that, those parties, and it's great. But like now it's time to evolve and try to put yourself in the rooms with the best people and be the smartest and always step up and push yourself for that. So for me, I'd rather be the low man on the totem pole, in a room full of people much more successful, because that's where you really learn stuff and can one day get there.
That's great advice.
What would you guys make like an artist or brand starter pack before you start reaching out to either collaborate or get funding or whatever?
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I read this question earlier. I didn't quite understand it. Can you say that
Yeah,
one more time?
Okay, so one thing, like artists always ask me like, hey, listen to my music. Change that in your subject line, by the way, because every time an artist sends me a thing like listen to my music or I'm a new artist, I'm not going to read it. But if you say something like, hey, I know you love McDonald's, I'm going to click that instead of reading about your song. So I always tell people, like everyone's like, I want to get signed. I want to work with Wiz. I want whatever it is. But I'm like, okay, do you have an EPK? And they're like, what's that? I'm like, there you go. So, like, what are some of the essentials that an artist needs before, they even think of that next level?
Okay, yeah. Oh, I get that. I mean, I think one thing that's really important is to know what it is you're selling, right? I mean, people make music, for example. I'm selling songs, but, well, what kind of songs are you selling? Okay, well, who's listening to them now? How many followers do you have? How far do they make it through your songs? What do your analytics look like? These are all things that we all have access to on everything, right? So the more you understand that, the more you understand what you're actually selling. So now when you're talking to Jen, you could talk about how you've grown 3%, 5%, 40% in your audience over the past couple of months or weeks. That's actually an important thing when it comes to whether or not someone seems like they're moving in the right direction. One of the worst things that could ever happen is when someone, you send a song to someone, you like a song a whole lot. You play this new artist that you love, he's just dope, and you put them on all your platforms, and then they quit the next day. They don't make another song. A life moment intercedes. Another album never comes. So now it's like, well, shoot, why did I waste my time with someone who really didn't have the follow through? So that's one thing I would definitely say. Make sure you know your numbers, know what you're selling. And I think outside of that, what Ski said earlier about knowing the person you're trying to connect with, I think that's really what you need more than anything else.
My perspective a little bit different because I'm the ground zero man because I'm a creative. So I take something that I have right now, an artist by the name of Danny Lay. She came in my office, and I wasn't going to sign her. She came in playing music that I was like, I don't agree with this. This producer that she was working with by the name of Yanni came in and played a couple of records, and I let her tone on the record. I was like, yo, she didn't come in doing this. And I had a certain vision for what I wanted to sign at the time. So I just heard the tone, met back with her, and said, yo, I got this vision. She was like, really? I got that same vision. I was just trying to do something different to try to get in the game. I was like, you don't have to do that, kid. I'm the hip-hop R&B guy. Let's do this. So we had the same vision, and we created it, literally. I took the seed, put it in the dirt, and started to water it, literally. And actually created, to have an artist that's up and going right now. So everybody is different, but the most important thing is having the same vision. You gotta be aligned the same. If you're not aligned the same to try to make it work, it just won't work. And I'm not a numbers guy. I don't need this, I know in the building some of that is important, but when you cut through on a different level and show from a creative standpoint when nobody believes, not even in the building, to actually create the numbers, to actually create numbers that actually create revenue, that's a stronger point that you have when you stand there and say, hey, I think you need to trust me a little bit more. So that's my take.
For me, recognizing and getting attention, it goes back to having people on your team like Tu who can identify records, who can, see a vision from the ground up. I come from the touring world to start, so immediately when someone sends me an email, listen to this song, the song's hot, it's deleted. But if someone sends me an email that's like, here's a video of me in my hometown playing in front of 400 people and it looks crazy, that immediately catches my attention, because it's like you built your own brand, you have a wave. You know, for me, I'm working on a million different things, different projects, some music, some non. So I want to see that you put the work into yourself to build your own brand, to have fans, to get, you know, whoever behind you, get people excited to know that it's a real viable thing, not like you just made one song and you think it's hot and you want me to listen to it. So to get my attention, to see that you put the time in yourself to build something.
What I always would say to artists is, hey, make me find you. If you're hot, like, everybody's gonna come after you. You got to start that buzz yourself a lot of times. Like, I don't have time to sit here and listen and critique and build, like, especially for what I do specifically. It's about, like, I want to find, like, we want to play the hottest artists and people that have momentum and traction and make us find you. And then that's a lot more, like, you have the leverage, right? Like, you don't want to ever be dependent on other people where, like, oh, I need, man, if I don't get signed right here, I don't have anybody else. You want to have 5 people knocking at your door with the real deal, because then otherwise, you know, you still, and as you know, when you started a label a lot of times too, you used to start from the ground up, and like, it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm signed, tight, like, you know, listening to the stories, even Danny Lake, like, you had to work that in the building and get everybody else to believe. So it's never that easy. You've got to go out and do all the groundwork really yourself. And so don't worry about just like playing it for me, playing it for anybody else. Like, go out and make that happen. Build your audience, do your shows, build a fan base so people start coming to you.
So those were all my questions. Before we get into, I have 3 questions for everyone tuning in on the live stream. So for those who are listening, thank you. And then we're going to take, do we have enough for, 3 questions from the audience? So while they're preparing that, do you want to do the giveaway? We have some cool stuff to give away. Who got raffle tickets? They were free. I thought they were charging for them.
What?
So if you don't have a free raffle ticket, you're losing out, because they actually have
I
good
didn't get
stuff.
one.
I'm like, I want one.
Where's ours?
I know, right? We're gonna. I think. How many do we have? How many things do we have?
Oh, that's sick.
Oh yeah.
Y'all coming up today.
Should I like let people get around, or are they just out of luck? Okay, wait. So So the first thing we're going to raffle. Let's do. What do you want to do first? I want to do that one last. Huh? What is it? A Bluetooth keyboard. What? Roberto got. Okay, so what is this?
Bluetooth keyboard.
A Bluetooth keyboard and this. What is that? Just support. Oh, this. Okay, so I don't know. It looks fancy though. Are those the raffle tickets? Ski, do you want to pull the first one?
Take the first one?
Yeah. Oh.
We've got 391-4738. 391-4738. Anybody have it? You got it?
Okay.
Yeah. Way up top, we got you.
Okay. This next one are from my friends at Fat Sal's. I don't know where they
Yeah.
are. So they catered for the panelists and everyone working. So I have a gift card and a hat. Will, do you want to do it?
391-4740.
There we
Oh,
go.
you really got it. Okay, so that's that one. I have one more, right? 2 more? Oh,
The grand prize.
What's the next?
The keyboard, right? Yeah. Oh, that's all in one?
That's it?
Oh.
There's only 2, right?
Okay, so this, I think everybody wants this. I don't know what it is, but I just know it's fancy. 2. Do you want to put?
All right.
Who's the
So
winner?
looking for ticket number 111111. No, I'm playing.
That's mine. I won.
You're like, oh! That's my ticket. I got it. I saw what you was giving away. I like that. Damn audio. All right, for real though. 391-4696. 391-4696. 391-4696.
Congratulations.
You better hold that. I think everybody wants it.
Sneak him out.
That was not. So thank you for everyone who gave us all those things for the giveaway. So I'm going to get into the Q&A. Jocelyn and Carmen are right here, so we're going to pick 3 to 5 questions depending on how long the answers are. So just find, okay, I think there's people already. Let me start
Can we
with...
kind of like cut off the answers and get a little bit more than 5? I always like to see what people think. That's
Yeah,
just
no,
me.
I really want to keep it up. What time is it right now? Okay, so I said we'd be out of here about 8:30. So we actually have, okay, so let me start with online. The first one, this would be for you. It's from Anna Marie. As a producer, what is the best way to get new clients? How do you convince them that they should go with you instead of someone else?
The best way to get new clients is to always practice what you do on your surroundings. So a producer say, hey, man, please listen to my beats, right? But if you're not actually putting your beats on any talent, I'm just listening to a beat without anything that's produced. So it's a difference. It's a difference between being a producer and a difference between being a beat maker. If you actually, and even if you are a beat maker, if you can actually get your friends on your beat, you can actually have Exhibit A, beats. Exhibit B, here go my beats, you know what I'm saying, that's actually on the artist.
Okay. The next question is from Jonathan Shager. Some artists make their music in different genres, but when it comes to people coming into the music industry, would it be better to focus on making music in one genre at first before delving into others?
I think you perfect one thing at a time, and there's always room to grow and do more and expand creatively, but do one thing, perfect it, get great at it, and then move on to the next, is my opinion.
There's riches and niches.
Next one's from Lon Ray. I don't know how to say last name, so I'm not going to try. If an artist decides to publish himself as a starter, where would you advise him to start from?
That's a great question. To publish yourself as a starter. Okay, start as in incorporating your publishing company. First, do the business. And then outside doing the business, I guess, try to build your catalog and your portfolio of records / that's about it for me. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like there's a lot of people who have questions. So, Jocelyn, who are we starting with? There's a lot of people. So we have to wrap by 8:30, so everyone can be out of here.
It's 8:08.
Okay, 8:08?
8:09.
8:09.
Can y'all hear me?
We got 21. Okay.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
All right, cool. So my name is Isaac Bell. Earlier, you guys talked about learning the rules when you get in the system. My question for you is, how long do you wait to kind of push that trend or the envelope when you see a big opportunity? Like, should you jump on it if it comes up, or should you wait until you are comfortable in knowing those rules? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to play that one by ear, right? I'm with Empire now. I don't know anything about record label system. I've never been on this side of the table, so everything is really, really fresh. I don't know these rooms well enough to be able to, feel comfortable going too far one way or the other. But I do know that when I'm passionate about something, I make sure everybody know that I'm passionate about that thing. And I think that as long as you live between those two, if you live in that paradigm somehow, believe in the stuff you're talking about and definitely tell people about it, but figure out what is disrespectful, you should be all right.
Hey guys, my name is Fernando Duran. I'm a talent booker for musiccash.com. Hit me up if you guys want to meet me. I'd love to talk to any talent out here in the room. First and last question for me, of course, is books. Are they important to you? Are they not important to you? Are you going audiobook? Do you listen to, what's your number one book that gets you in the right mindset to do business, to do what you do every day?
For me, I do like reading. I try to do it more, and I like reading. I read in Kindle, not physical books, but I like actually reading instead of audiobooks because I like listening, typically like music and stuff when I'm listening to audio, and it's a good breakup for that. For me, it's a combination of things. Like I try to read is like subjects obviously that I'm interested in, as well as things that I want to learn, and keep it, a bunch of different varieties. And also one thing that I'd say is that what I try to take away from that is little bits of nuggets. And and I want to know, again, a lot about a little things. That's my personal preference. But also I realize that those same stories, when you're reading like a biography on somebody, oh, this is what Steve Jobs did, this is what Phil Knight did, this is what whoever Quincy Jones did, that works for them, that might not work for you. Take their experiences and learn from that, but it's great to have that history, but everybody's path is going to be unique. My path is going to be different from yours, which is going to be different from somebody else's. So a lot of people try to read and be like, oh, he did this, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. Take those nuggets and things that have worked, but you don't have to follow them to a T.
Jen, great event. So my name is Duran. I'm a
Thank you.
DJ as well from Detroit. Scott, my question is channeled towards you, but the rest of you guys can chime in. No one really talked about the platforms, and I noticed with your platform is really different in the sense that you focused on original content. I don't know where you are as far as your stage of funding. Do you anticipate an exit eventually or partnering with the other guys since you have like so much original content? And what do you all think about the actual platforms? Because no one discussed that today as far as the artists having their music on the platform.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, when we launched Dash, I took my history from both like Ski TV and creating content on that side to obviously my experience in radio from the time I was 16 to being at Sirius, iHeart, Power out here, KISS, and I just saw there being an opportunity that I always try to go into places that aren't oversaturated. At the time, everybody's focused on the streaming space. You have Spotify, Apple, Tidal, a bunch of other competitors. And it's like, I'm not going to get there. We're late. We're not going to beat them. And I realized hey, these are utilities that all have access to kind of the same catalogs. But when I looked at live audio and live broadcast, I realized nobody had built there was a huge opportunity for a number of reasons. One, nobody had really built something from the ground up for that. Number two, the fact that radio is really the last form of media that's still analog. It's still delivered through FM, AM antennas, satellite antennas, and it's obvious that, as in every industry, that's going to change. So we launched Dash just because we saw there being a big opportunity and realizing kind of the margins are better in radio and valuing the input of DJs and curation. And I think a lot of people underestimate that today because they'll be like, oh, radio's not there. And, and for us, I always look at opportunities when people aren't focused there. So it's the best thing ever because we've been able to operate under the radar and grow to what we've become. But for me, I think there's true value, especially when you have tens of millions of songs out there. There's so much stuff. The average person is not going to have the time to go through that. And there's the power in the DJ to curate and to put those things together. And there's a science and there's an art. When Mo Beats is up here DJing, he's not look, he has the same records that I do, that you do, but the way that he puts them together, there's an art to that. And it's underestimated right now, and we try to really create a void in that lane. And for what our ultimate goal is, I mean, we see there being an opportunity for somebody to own what broadcasting is and also take it globally. Nobody's done that globally because radio's been territorialized. So we're trying to build the biggest thing in that platform. There will be, and there's been a lot of people talking to us and things, and you always keep your ears open, but we're excited to we want to build this on our own, so it's not dependent on anything else.
My name is Pawn. Question is for you. Being that record pools still exist, what's the best route to go about record pools? What's the top record pools? And do you really suggest record pools? And at what point should a person get into record pools?
Sure. So BPM Supreme, I saw they had their bags out here. Those are the homies, so I love those guys. That's what I personally use. There's a few out there. Yes, they're important because for me as a DJ, that's where I get my music and get my mix files and get the radio version of that Danny Lee or that Wiz record or whatever, and the instrumental, so I can mix it I need a clean version for the Viking Stadium this weekend. I can't play the dirty. I'll log on there to get it. So it's important to cover. Challenge, though, is that you've still got to make yourself want it, right? If you just put your record up there, doesn't mean I'm going to download it. There's a bunch of songs up there. I'm going to download the hits and the ones that I want to hear. So it's important to be at, but it's not going to make or just break you. I mean, getting promotion on there and buying some of those slot placements might be beneficial and expose you to new people. You've got to kind of see what your ROI is for that. So definitely important to be at, but again, you still have to stand out from the noise. There's a lot of records on there, and I'm going to download the ones that I know and that I want to play. So everything else that you're doing is still just as important. Yeah, I like BPM Supreme. Those are the homies, so. No worries.
Hello, my name is Danny Alwa, and first of all, I want to say you guys did amazing. Thank you for coming out and giving us your wisdom. My question is towards two, and understanding that you're working at Def Jam, which is like one of the most legendary record labels of all time and whatnot, and as you are an A&R, what were the steps that you did before getting to that level while you were interning, and how'd you get your shot to be like, hey, you know what, I could actually start interning at Def Jam?
Wasn't really intern. No ID was president at the time, and No ID wanted a more commercial ear. So he was trying to get me to come in for a minute to do consulting. So just to give you guys a little bit of my history, I want to have a production duo called The Interns, 8-time Grammy nominated. So records like Big Sean, Ass, Rihanna Cake, Nicki Anaconda, from Chris Brown, John Legend, Nas, everybody, you know what I'm saying? We had a chance to do a lot of different things. So we have always been on the cusp of the commercial end with making radio records. So No ID at the time needed somebody to come in to really help him, you know, on the commercial end. So he's trying to get me to consult, and then I happened to come in, and that's how I got my start. I started as a consultant. And when my consultancy contract was over with, they had an offer on me on the table, and it was between them and Beyonce. She wanted me to come work for a Parkwood company, and I picked Def Jam over Beyonce because I knew I could build a resume. So that's what I did, you know.
Okay, yeah, my name is Dino Hawkins, and I actually assist for a show on Dash Radio, and I was trying to wonder, like, now I just started, and I know people I can't talk. Many people say that they get taken advantage of once they first come in, and my first question is, like, have you guys have any examples of people taking advantage of you because you're new, and is there like a way to have that be avoided?
I think, look, at the end of the day, and it's a good question, like people, oh, what am I doing? You have to get your foot in the door, and you have to figure a way to work your way in, and you have to provide that value. Once you kind of step yourself up and build your brand up, you have to do it yourself, and you have to kind of, like for me, it was sacrificing and putting together campaigns and working on projects and not even necessarily getting paid from that, but doing that to build my name and reputation up to the point where you can demand that. You know, you'll see people come in and be like, oh, I want to do this, but I need to get this. Like, well, what have you done? There's a lot of people at that same position. If you make yourself valuable, you can really kind of set your own prices and terms and all of those things. So I think you kind of have to, from my perspective, you have to get your foot in the door and prove your value first at all costs, even if that means, like, look, it's not going to always be equal, and you're going to have to, you know, cut in and do things and not worry about money sometimes and sacrifice that to get to a point where you are in demand and make yourself valuable and can then demand and set those prices and kind of terms and you know, when people are coming for you, then that's when you have the opportunity. But it's a buyer's market, right? Like, it's only the value of what somebody will pay. If you're disposable and you at a point where you're coming in and there's 20 other people, like, there's no reason for somebody to just kind of stick with you. So I think it's important to really, you know, from my perspective, I'd go all out and make that investment in yourself. Even if it doesn't pay off directly for that, it will over time.
Hey guys, first off, Justin, love watching you on Hip Hop DX. Literally on the company, man. Last week saw your top 5. I know you ended with Lupe Fiasco. Just want to say that. But for like an artist, I know back in the day there were a bunch of artists such as Wiz Khalifa and even Big Sean that released classic mixtapes for free. And nowadays we don't have the liberty to do that. Would you guys say that it's more important to focus on singles or make one full cohesive project that you create that people like can find you or look at?
Me personally, I always tell my artists the climate of what's going on culturally, you have to stay on the cusp of releasing music. It's not about singles. You can't get caught into that because you know why? There's so many artists that don't have any records on the radio. I go to their damn show, everybody's singing their record. It's only because the way they're releasing their music and presenting it to the people. So it's very important to just keep the music ongoing, nonstop, whatever that is for you as an artist. You know, that doesn't mean like every month, every 2 months, whatever fits for you as an artist, because every artist is different, but you gotta stay consistent with the music.
Hi, my name is Marcio. So I'm gonna try to read this to articulate it as best as possible. I just got off American Idol, and it was a huge success for me. But I'm trying to figure out, how do I build off of that audience that I just got without straying so far away from the show? So I'm trying to figure out how, you build off of that.
and I originally did not start with that fan base, if that makes sense.
I think it depends on your goals. The first artist I ever signed, his name is Willie Jones. His first big break was on X Factor. Now he's a country artist and a black dude from Louisiana, so he's already an outlier in the space. But he had about 2 years where he was opening for acts that most people didn't know about. He was able to build relationships with other influencers, but he never actually put out an official project or wasn't actively putting out music within that 2 years after he was on X Factor. Fortunately for him, his appearance was iconic and had a life of its own on YouTube and online. But I would say that if it's always a good idea. What's my favorite Kanye line? Never leave while you're hot. That's how Mace screwed up, right? So if you've got people looking at you right now, listen to what 2-0 just said, be active with the music, put it out on schedule, communicate with the new people that you have, and trust that the success you had on American Idol, other people will remember that and it'll help spread your name around.
Momentum is real.
This is a general question for all of you. My name's Edward Morenzel. I'm currently in leadership and organizational behavior, and especially right now with going on all what's in the industry with times off and harassment in the office. How are you able to lead? How do you know how to lead a creative team and know when to bring the hammer down? If so, you can maintain a safe environment for all your employees so the best creativity product can come out of that.
For me, we're lucky. Yeah, it's fun. Running a bit. Yeah, it's always fun. For us, and Jen can kind of attest to that because she's been around. I mean, luckily we have that. We have a great culture, and it's so important to build that from day one. You have to have that. If you build, if you're a frat house and you build that day one, it's going to show and come back to bite you. I've always been hyper conscious of what the internet can do and seeing it and working with talent and being involved in beefs and drama and watching careers rise and fall very quick over the years where, and also too, just like, that's not the type of people we want to be. So for us, like with people like Time's Up and that hasn't affected, we haven't changed one thing at Dash because we've never had any of those issues. And we've always tried to, incubate and, foster creativity no matter who it is, demographics, race, sex, and have a fun, wholesome environment where people feel safe and comfortable. And if there ever is issues, there's of course issues when you're dealing with multiple personalities, just addressing them and nipping them in bud instantly. Like it's something that you can't let linger and jump into. So for us, it hasn't affected us, but we've seen it happen to multiple industry executives, record labels, movie studios, and nowadays, again, you just have to know, and it's not even just from companies. Anything you do is, that you post on Twitter, even an Instagram story, like, think through that. Like, and my barometer is if you have to question it, it's probably not worth posting. Like, when you think, what's the upside versus the downside? Like, if I'm going to make a joke on Twitter, right? And I'm like, oh, this could be interpreted wrong. The upside is like, oh, I got a few retweets and favorites. Great. The downside is if I'm wrong, like, people are leaving the company, people aren't messing with me. The downside is so much bigger. So probably not worth doing. So you just have to be hyper aware from those things. But generally, it's just, whenever you have a business or run those things, you just have to treat people fair and right. And don't try to take advantage of them if you're in a position of power. And we've heard the stories, and it's just crazy some of the things that have happened. And like it's unbelievable when I read a lot of those things that certain executives and people have done, gotten away with over the years. There's just no room for that. So, and I think like thankfully that's happened. That I don't see that continuing to go on in this industry.
I think we have one last question. Okay, yeah, one more.
Okay, my question is for 2-0. With a market that's pretty oversaturated, you've got a lot of people who can sing, a lot of people who can rap, a lot of people who can do a bunch of different things. Like when you're sitting across the table from an artist, what makes them kind of stand out to you to want you to sign them or to move forward with them?
If you don't believe, I don't believe. So if you can't come in and sell me anything that you're trying to talk about, might as well leave, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to have way more confidence than I got to have in you, because you may have a talent and every other person, that every 3 or 2 people may have the same fucking talent you have. The difference is the way you sell your shit. you got to be a great salesman, man. You got to come in there and sell your show. I'd be like, man, this dude really believe, man. He's in here going crazy. I'm hyped too, you know. So if I don't feel that, I'm good, bro.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, so before we wrap up, how many people took notes? The point of the class, oh, it's a lot of you. Okay, well, I only have 25 bags for people who took actual notes, so find Christina in the back. It's just gift bags. I just wanted you guys to come to this class to learn. That was the point of it. So let's give a round of applause for everybody who came on to speak. And thank you to the LA Film School and Roberto for helping me. Oh, they're really rushing for the bags. For putting this together. Actually, guys, hold on really quick. I want to make sure they walk out first, and then as soon as we clear out, we can exit.
Hey,
so,
Jen,
yeah,
so I want to say this, man. I appreciate you guys coming out listening to us, because believe me, I was in your seat before, man. Me and my partner used to go to any and everything just to try to get anybody to listen to our music, or even after they get finished and be like, yo, man, you mind if I buy you something, this, that, and third? Yeah, that was a long shot of trying to get something and take somebody to get, you know, to buy them something to eat. But you guys sitting here listening to us, man, that really means something to me. So I just want to say appreciate you guys for coming out, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And shout out to Jen for putting on an incredible event.
Jen, this is dope.
Yeah, let's give it up for Jen.